Xbox On. Welcome to Xbox On, the podcast with one host about one console, the Xbox One. I am said host, Jesse DeRosa, and on today's episode, we'll be talking about the latest Xbox news for the week of May 28th, 2020, including Minecraft Dungeons is now available, Phil Spencer speaks on how COVID-19 may delay some Xbox games in production, G2A admits to selling stolen games, and more. Welcome to episode 51 of Xbox On. Man, I don't really know how we're gonna top an episode like episode 50. Last week was a real banger. I don't know what happened last week. I guess people are just kind of drawn to like milestone podcasts or something, because after episode 50 went live last week, I just got a weird tiny little influx of like YouTube subscribers and Twitter followers and show clicks and things like that. I don't know if there's like a group of people out there who are just like looking for podcasts that have hit episode 50 and they're like, oh shit, this guy's got 50 episodes of this podcast, must be a show worth checking out. I guess I saw this show a couple weeks ago. It looked like he was at 44, 47, 48. Man, he's at 50. That must be a good show right there. I don't know what the reasoning behind it is. Maybe there's just some lucky algorithm catching there with my tagging and SEO and titling of my podcast. But nonetheless, it was one of those weeks where I'm like, oh shit, sometimes people actually listen to this show. It's not just my brother and my friend who's totally real, Lethal Migraine, not a made-up person. So anyway, welcome to another exciting week of me talking about Xbox. I'll be honest with you, it's been kind of a slow news week. We've got a handful of stories, nothing, all of like mild interest. So let's see if I can, I spoke last week about trying to not let this show drag too long every episode. So maybe we'll hit a nice 50-minute episode this week, and I won't waste too much of your time, and we'll have a nice show. But maybe the stories will be so boring that you'll bleed out of your ears and have to start listening to podcasts by reading vibrations from sound waves, because I don't know, that's kind of how audio already works anyway. But anyway, here we go, jumping into this week's show. Shout out, as always, comments, questions, things written in by the audience we will jump into. Our first one comes from Mr. Dead Captain James, who says, in response to Respawn starting a third studio, he goes, I will play anything Respawn makes at this point. They have my complete faith. You know what, Dead Captain James? I concur 100%. Respawn is an excellent developer who I think has given everyone every reason to trust them. They left Infinity Ward, they started Respawn, and they made Titanfall, which is just a super incredible, kinetic, awesome multiplayer game for the early Xbox One, and then they come around with Titanfall 2, which is just more awesome Titanfall, but this time with a super kick-ass campaign that was just super underappreciated and underplayed, and that's a crime, but unfortunately that's the case. And then they go, hey, we're gonna make a battle royale game, even though those games aren't very much Jesse's cup of tea. We're going to make one, but it's going to be good, and he's going to like it, and everyone's going to like it because it's awesome, and Apex Legends is somehow pretty good. And then they're like, hey, now we're going to make a Star Wars game, even though everyone hates that franchise at the moment. And then they made a pretty awesome Star Wars game during a period where Disney and Lucasfilm were trying their hardest to butcher that franchise with The Rise of Skywalker. So it's been pretty exciting time, if you're a fan of Respawn or an employee of Respawn or EA Games, who owns Respawn. It's just they're a great studio continuing to put out great shit. Dead Captain James, I will drink my Mountain Dew to that statement. Our next one here comes from a new alert, a listener alert. We've got a new commenter. We've got Mr. Sarugi1, who comments, stumbled across your podcast a couple weeks ago. Loving the content, mate. Keep it up. Thank you so much for commenting. It's refreshing to have another voice on the comments, the shout-outs section. I welcome you to the show. I really appreciate you commenting and listening in, and hopefully we can keep you coming back for more with my banter, my back and forth with Mr. Lethal Migraine on why Microsoft shouldn't be using Unreal Engine to develop first-party games. And then our next one, whoa, oh my god, we got, guys, you won't whoa, guys, check this out. We've got another new commenter, Mr. Sorry if I'm butchering this. It's either Omarketer or Omar Keeter. I'm so sorry, man. I'm definitely butchering this, but Omarketer Gaming, he says, bro, love the podcast on Spotify. Took some research to find the YouTube channel, but I found it nonetheless. Great stuff. Thank you so much for your comment. Genuinely, it actually makes me like a little flustered and blush a little bit. The fact that complete strangers are telling me that they enjoy my podcast. I don't even enjoy my podcast, so thank you so much. Yeah, that really means the world to me. Welcome to the show. Hopefully, again, much as Sarugi1, I hope that you will be here for many episodes to come, commenting, listening, and enjoying my bullshit. And you are welcome to share your mind, share your thoughts on this channel at any time. Disagree with me, tell me why I'm wrong, tell me why I'm awesome, and leave those sweet, salty 5-star Apple reviews as to why I'm so great, so that we can artificially inflate my numbers. And then our next one here comes from Mr. Lethal Migraine, who says, Respawn should make a My Little Pony game. To which I said, about time someone says it. Someone's speaking the truth. I think, I don't know, well, looking at what Lethal Migraine here says about Respawn making a My Little Pony game and then going back up to Dead Captain James saying he'll play anything Respawn makes at this point, my guess is that, if Lethal Migraine has some cosmic powers and can make the stars align in such a way that Vince Zampella and the team at Respawn decides to make a My Little Pony game, looks like Dead Captain James is going to be playing a My Little Pony game, so that'll be exciting to see how that goes. But then we got, what is this? Sarugi1, our new commenter for this week, comes back and actually leaves a detailed comment, which is a very welcome thing. He goes, how are you finding Control now that you've had more time to play it? I picked it up last week on sale as well after hearing that it dabbled into some Alan Wake stuff. To me, it's playing almost exactly like Alan Wake, which is great because that game was incredible. In my opinion, it deserves a sequel. We will get to that question in a little bit when we go to what I've been playing, so hang on there for that. Then my brother comes in here and with an interesting something to chew on. He goes in regards to Respawn and EA's kind of growing studios. He says, I suspect that the different Respawn teams are because EA is going to rebrand them as different studios, which is funny because, as you said, EA has gutted so many teams and now they're pretty much making new ones to replace the old ones with. Maybe they'll give us a Dead Space 4 ellipses. So this is actually pretty much right, because we know that the second team that Vince Zampella is heading up, that was like a former DICE team, is getting a renaming. So this is probably exactly what's happening. Is EA turned around and said, hey, we got rid of all of our talent. Fuck, what are we going to do? And then they looked at Respawn and they said, hey, we haven't fired all you guys yet, and you seem to make good games. What if we just take you like a rag and wring you dry of all your fucking skill and spread that across like 4 studios, and then all of a sudden it looks like we have a full slate of like working studios that make great games. So I don't know, maybe that's EA's plan. That's a possibility, I suppose. And then after that, we got a little interaction between Lethal Migraine and Sarugi1 here on the whole Mixer conversation. I chimed in a bit as well. Lethal Migraine says, Mixer's struggle makes no sense. The delay is sub 1 second, and the users are much nicer to people than elsewhere. I totally agree with that, by the way. And so I said, yeah, I think it's as easy as gamers just want the big one, meaning that Twitch came first and built a big name, and no one wants to deviate. The only reason why YouTube and Facebook can compete is because with their streaming services, they already have a massive base of people who are already built in using them anyway, so it's really easy for them to click on or off a stream when they're already on those services anyway. So Sarugi comes in and says, Mixer to me has always felt a bit off. As someone who doesn't watch much game streaming, the only time I used it was to try and watch E3, and it just felt a little janky and cumbersome. It's always easier to watch things on YouTube. That's not a bad point. I will say Mixer does have that thing where it's a little more navigation, a little more menu fiddling to kind of get to where you want to go. I agree. I mean, Mixer, the number one thing I've used Mixer for is also things like watching E3 or watching the Game Awards or watching an IGN stream or something, because usually whenever I know I have to watch some video game related stream and I just know it's going to be streamed via Mixer because it has some relation to Xbox, then I always just default to Mixer, mostly just because I want to use Microsoft's service and I want to support Microsoft and I want to, watch the Microsoft thing on the Microsoft service because I like that arbitrary kind of coherency. But yeah, I totally actually agree with this, that sometimes Mixer does feel a little obtuse, And maybe that's not so much how it actually is if you're someone who knows how to totally work and use Mixer. But if you're someone who barely dabbles in it, it is kind of a daunting system. It's especially that all that meta stuff they have in there, all the leveling and the kind of badges and things you can use. It's really kind of off-putting to people who don't know how to use it. And yeah, Twitch has some of that stuff as well, but with Twitch, it's a little easier if you just want to kind of casually jump in and out of. Whereas with Mixer, it seems like more of a commitment to really use the platform. But that being said, I still think Mixer is a cooler service. I still think if you take the time to try and learn what it's all about, I think it offers more. But ultimately, that's not what people are looking for. People are looking for the thing that's easy to jump in and understand why it works, why they need it. And I think Twitch probably offers that the best, or YouTube, because YouTube is, of course, all about video content. Lastly, we got Mr. David White, who comes in and says, what is the ESRB rating for Car Mechanics Simulator? Do the mechanics do drugs or engage in premarital sex? So this is a very thought-provoking question, because while we can assume that in Car Mechanics Simulator is a very for everyone related game, just because the simple nature of you're purchasing cars, you're fixing cars, you're selling cars, you're test driving cars. It's a very innocent enough premise for a video game, but we can't be too sure that the game is that innocent, because let's not forget, you know, as someone who works in the automotive industry, lest we forget the kinds of activity that car owners and car enthusiasts are really using. You know, why would someone need their Pontiac GT to be fixed up good as new? Why would anyone even buy a Pontiac GT? Well, it's a fair assumption that if someone's bringing that Pontiac GT into the shop and all they really need is just to get the engine running, to slap some new tires on that bad boy, and then, you know, they got to get it done quick because they're running down to Miami, chances are that's a drug dealer. You know, you're probably fixing up and flipping cars for people who are using these vehicles to engage in the illegal sale of recreational drugs. And I think it's very safe to say that you're a major contributing factor to the spread and circulation of illegal narcotics in this game. And for that, I do think there's a case to be made that this game should be rated AO, possibly. But yeah, just for the moment-to-moment gameplay, sure, simple enough. But I don't know. I've seen some shit happen behind the scenes in the automotive industry, and it's not a pretty place. But thank you for your thoughtful inquiry, David White, and to everyone who commented and listened this week. I greatly appreciate it. And now we will jump into what I've been playing. But of course, as always, remember, don't be shy guys. Reply. Not shy guys like Nintendo. This is an Xbox podcast, so don't go there. All right, and now we'll get into what I've been playing. But of course, before we can really go into what I've been playing, I gotta tell you what I've been eating. And what I've been eating this week is, bear with me here, it's workplace pizza. So let me elaborate if you'll have me. So someone earlier this week, you know, at work, we have a break room at work. We have a refrigerator in that break room. And someone came up to me at work, a coworker, and said, hey, I got these free pizzas here. He had 3 free pizzas, and I was just like, I'm not going to question that. It's free pizza. And so he goes ahead and he plops them down the break room and goes, have a slice. I'm like, shit. So, you know, I wrap it up with this customer I'm working with. I basically tell him, you know, oh, go to hell, whatever. I'm going to go eat pizza. And then I just run away. I half-ass my job, and I waft in, I float into the break room like a cartoon character, smelling the pie and just kind of floating towards the break room. I go with the pizza and I start mowing down on this pepperoni goodness. And immediately my coworkers are all just like, gross, it's pizza, it's unhealthy. And I'm left with this like, wait, what the fuck is wrong with you? And I guess a little bit of context, you know, the job I have is a job that attracts a lot of like regular people. And I don't really know how to say that other than to say, you know, my coworkers are very much like, you know, not in a mean way, just regular Joes. You know, they like to watch Netflix and work out and eat right and go to the beach and engage on Instagram or whatever it is. You know, they're just normal people, and I can't really wrap my brain around that headspace because I myself am a cool, edgy guy. I like to play Xbox and eat fast food despite my doctor telling me I'm overweight and have high blood pressure, and just continue to be negligent of my personal health and physical and mental. And I just like to eat the fucking pizza if it's there. And I got a lot of criticism from my coworkers. Why are you going to eat that pizza? It's disgusting. It's unhealthy. I'm like, what the hell? So they're sitting there, they're eating their salmon and their broccoli and their kale, their quinoa. And I'm thinking, well, if you guys aren't going to eat any of this, I'm just going to put the rest in the fridge and then eat it every day this week for lunch. I'm not going to have to bring anything to work. I'm just going to have free pizza waiting for me at any given time. So I've successfully done that, 3 out of the 5 days so far this week at work. I've eaten pizza every day, and it's been wonderful. And, every day I get a little bit of snickering from my coworkers. Ew, that pizza's 2 days old. You're going to eat that pizza now? It's like, yeah, I'm going to fucking eat that pizza while you cry over the fact that you've been relegated to this parfait and this kale salad while I'm over here, in pepperoni heaven. So a little bit of judgment for my coworkers, as it sounds like I'm judging them a bit as well. But, they're all good people. I enjoy the staff I work with. It's just, I don't know, I guess it makes me uncomfortable that I just can't be negligent of my health and, gorge myself and indulge like I'd like to, while knowing that they're kind of looking at me weirdly. I think it would make me feel a lot better if someone came in and enforced for all my coworkers to start, assuming poor lifestyles, like not working out and eating poorly, so that I can feel better about myself in the work environment. I think that would be a more suitable solution, probably, if maybe someone came in to regulate, oh, well, your meal hits too many parts of the food pyramid. You can't eat this meal. Here, have a brownie milkshake instead. And then I won't feel so bad about the fact that I'm eating pizza every day this week, leftover gas station pizza. But yeah, that's what I've been eating. I've been enjoying it, but I'm self-aware. I realize that maybe not everyone in their 20s is like me, living like they're 9 years old with all the decision power that they shouldn't be allowed to have, because I'm certainly squandering my health in here in my mid-20s. But we will now move on to what I've been playing. Speaking of things that are unhealthy for you, I haven't been physically active. I haven't been playing my Wii Fit. I've been playing, drum roll. Actually, first of all, shout out to Minecraft Dungeons. Minecraft Dungeons released this week. Of course, it is Microsoft's newest game in the first-party lineup, although, of course, it is available on Nintendo Switch and PS4, because Minecraft is just available on everything. Yeah, so I actually played this game a lot the other day when it first launched, and I love it a lot. I think it's actually really great. I've never been a big Minecraft person. I've always liked the art style and thought it was kind of charming and cute. I really love the music of Minecraft, but I've never actually enjoyed the game itself. It's too tedious, and I don't want to build stuff if I know it doesn't actually do anything. Like, it's one thing if I had the actual ability to make a game or build a car, I would do that in real life. If I knew how, if I had the patience for it. But I'm not going to build a world or something within Minecraft knowing that once I'm done with it, that thing is basically useless. There's nothing I can do with it. So I don't have the patience for that. The whole games with building mechanics thing is definitely a thing for a younger generation that just, doesn't resonate with me. When I was a kid, I didn't want to play Minecraft. I wanted to play action games. I wanted to play platformers and shooters and stuff like that. So I can't wrap my brain around regular Minecraft, despite it being something that I respect. It's an Xbox game, it's Microsoft owned property now, so I have to respect it. I have to blindly love it, otherwise I'd be a bad Xbox fanboy. But Minecraft Dungeons, definitely a great way to get people like me into Minecraft, and I don't think that's why they made it. I mean, they make it for Minecraft fans to give them more ways to enjoy the Minecraft universe. But I think, also, subsequently, it attracts people like me who go, well, I like the aesthetic of Minecraft. I don't have anything against Minecraft, but it's just not my kind of game. Well, Minecraft Dungeons, it's a fairly adequate dungeon crawler. It's very fun, actually. Yeah, it's very basic. There aren't too many dungeons. The game's not too difficult. The loot system isn't too dynamic or it's not super in depth. You can't go too far into it. The types of weapons you can get is pretty surface level. The types of upgrades you can do are pretty basic. But I think that's the point. It's kind of meant to be, a kid's first dungeon crawler. It's not supposed to be Diablo. It's supposed to be, Minecraft's Diablo Light. And I think it really excels at that. The dungeons are really cool. I think there's enough loot and kind of variety in items and in upgrading that it's engaging but not overwhelming. And yeah, it's definitely light on content. I pretty much played almost every level in just a day, but that's fine. They're just going to add a bunch of stuff over time anyway. This is going to be one of those things that just continues to grow and evolve over time, so I don't really give a shit about that. I see this is one of those games that kind of launched as one of those here's part one, there will be more later, and you come back in a year or two, Minecraft Dungeons is going to be one of those games with 10 times the amount of content it launched with. So I don't really personally care. I guess it's a fair criticism if you're looking for Minecraft Dungeons to be a game you play for 50 hours or something, but I'm more than happy to just spend like 5 to 10 hours with it and call it a day. And yeah, just so far I've been really enjoying it. Definitely looking forward to playing it with some co-op people and trying that out, but a shout out to Xbox for another game, another Xbox Game Studios game releasing this year. They've been on a huge roll with Ori and Bleeding Edge and Minecraft Dungeons, and they got Wasteland 3 coming out soon. They're on a big roll with, Gears Tactics, all these games just coming out boom, 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 despite, or coming off, a couple of years of something of a dry spell where there just weren't a lot of Xbox first party games. So this is really, really exciting and awesome. And speaking of Wasteland 3, I saw a handful of developer diaries that went live this week, and the game looks super good. I have all the confidence in the world that Wasteland 3 is not going to be my game and that I'm not going to beat it and stick with it. But I'm very excited to try it out and at least try to understand what the game's about and try to see how much of it I can enjoy before it's time for me to put the controller down. So I don't know. I'm pretty excited to just try and really get out there and play some new types of games, and having studios like In Exile and stuff like that join the family at Microsoft at Xbox makes it a little more exciting to get out of my comfort zone and try some new things. It's like, oh man, I would have never played a Wastelands game, but now it's an Xbox game. It's exciting. It's just an exciting excuse to play something you wouldn't normally try, and maybe that's a little unfortunate that it takes something like like a corporate overtake of a company for me to pay attention to the games they've been making. But I don't know. It's a cool way to get some people interested. And I'm sure this is happening and will continue to happen across all Xbox game studios, where you'll see a lot of people start to play games they wouldn't normally play just because, man, it's an Xbox game. I want to try it. I want to see what the Xbox owned studios are up to. But yeah, aside from that, keeping with our Nordic European theme, our Swedish friends over at Mojang who make Minecraft, we're going to stick with another kind of Nordic European title. We've got Remedy's Control, which I finished this week. Now, I know last week I was saying I was mildly disappointed in the game. I don't know what I was expecting, but the game just kind of wasn't living up to my expectations. So this week I kind of sat down in 2 sittings and really just plowed through the remainder of it, not to get through it, but because I was kind of got more into it. I definitely appreciate the game a whole lot more having played through the entirety of it now. And then after I played through the game, I got kind of really interested in, the rabbit hole of what is this game about? What is this story? What is happening here? And just reading a lot of threads, listening to some podcasts with interviews from developers at Remedy, and just kind of trying to gather more information on this game and what Remedy was kind of working on when they did this. And after that, I my appreciation and respect for this game went up even higher. Now I'm at, I don't know, the credits rolled and I went from oh, this is a good game that I'm mildly disappointed into oh, this is a pretty great game. And then, after kind of reading more about it and trying to learn all I could after the fact, now I'm at wow, that's a really, really groundbreaking game, just because I really appreciate the stuff that Remedy was trying to do with just really pushing boundaries in storytelling in a video game, which I think is just so critical because I'm not gonna lie, you got to be honest as a gamer. Video games have really pushed new boundaries when it comes to narrative in gaming. I think we think of games like Journey and games like The Last of Us and these kinds of seminal modern games that are really defining what narrative in a video game can be. And I'm really glad we have that, because that's, aside from gameplay mechanics, that's the thing that matters to me the most in video games is narrative. And I really think it's a quite an underserved medium of art that people just overlook. Gaming's one of those things that most people think of as just a form of winding down and goofing off and playing and just kind of turning your brain to mush and having fun. And video games can absolutely be that, and I'm glad that they are, and I love them that way too. But I also think video games are a really powerful tool for storytelling. And I think it has so much potential that movies don't have and that books don't have and all these other things. And I'm not trying to say that, video games have more potential than books or movies, but I am trying to say video games have a different, there's something that makes that medium different, and that if you really explore what those differences are and how you can manipulate those differences to make storytelling unique and fun in a way that's never been before, then I think you can really bring out the best in gaming. And that's something I've really been excited about these past 10 or so years, that we've really started to see game developers, as they truly get seasoned and start to get great writers and really explore these possibilities, kind of do is we've really seen narrative in gaming explode in a way it never has before. And I think Control's a really perfect example of that, because even though still to this day, despite all the reading and podcast listening to I've tried to do in order to understand Control, it's still an incoherent mess to me. But there's enough there now where it's like there's a lot I can divulge and kind of just chew on and think about, even though I still don't fully understand it. And it's really great, because last week I talked about how the game attempts to kind of bring the genre of the new weird into gaming, which is a genre that's been explored a little bit in TV and movies, but mostly just in the form of novels. And it's really exciting to see this come to games, because again, it's like, well, how can the medium of gaming push this genre that's, traditionally only seen in the literary world forward? And I think Control is a perfect example of how you do that. And I'm not going to get into specifics. This isn't an episode about Control. This isn't an episode about, about the new weird genre. We're going to talk about news at some point, but I just think this is a really important conversation in gaming that we just don't have often enough. And games like Control really inspire me to think about this conversation and to share this kind of information with you guys. 'Cause at the end of the day, I don't know. I don't really give a shit if this is a kind of thing that makes people upset, but I think video games are a very serious form of art that, really connect with me and speak to me in a way that makes me excited to share this with people. And that's, anytime I've ever thought about like the dream job of like, if I worked in the games industry, without a doubt, it's always been like, man, how cool would it be to be like a game director or a storyteller, like a story writer, a writer or a director at a game studio, and help get to push the medium forward by finding new and innovative ways. So like, what do I mean by that? So like in Control, it's arguable that the person, that you're the physical character you play as, the person that speaks when that person opens their mouth, is arguably not that person. And it's a game that plays with a lot of like interdimensional, like alternate dimension kind of stuff, and just all this crazy psychological bullshit. And it's really easy to like, the more you think about it, to think, wow, so not only is this character possibly not the person like who this character is, like, yes, you're playing as a physical embodiment of Jesse Faden, who's the main character, but like, it's quite possible that the person who speaks and thinks when she says dialogue in the game is actually someone else who's kind of like controlling her. But then you think about what that means as you as the player with a physical controller in your hands, in a more meta sense, the fact that you're controlling this character. So does that mean you're playing as the person in her head instead of the character themselves? And what does that mean about your input in the world, and the fact that the game is called Control? And obviously it plays with this idea of control and kind of, the parallel, like the supernatural abilities you get and how you manipulate control and power in the world of the game itself, as well as like the natural world. And the game talks about, kind of like the difference between like perceived reality and like real reality and all this stuff. And there's just so much to chew on. And honestly, at the end of the day, I could talk about this game and ideas and themes from this game, and I get so excited about it, but I still don't understand any of it. Like, I can't really draw connections, and it's just such an exciting game in that respect, because there are games you play with like touching emotional stories that make you cry and give you that catharsis that makes you go, wow, that's really what a good story is all about. And there are games that are, where the story is kind of like just there to be there and it's fun, but it's not groundbreaking. And then there are games where the story literally doesn't fucking matter. And that's kind of most games, to be honest. But then there are games like this, and it's just like, wow, like this game is like actually twisting my brain in ways I don't understand. And that's exciting. And I love how it not only makes you think about the ideas and themes being explored in the narrative itself as a contained idea, but also it makes you think about, the way that your input as a gamer relates to the game itself and the world within the game itself, which is just crazy. But aside from that, more like whatever the hell I'm talking about perspective, just from a sheer gameplay perspective, the game is super fun. The combat is so satisfying in this game. The ability to like manipulate objects and throw shit, that telekinesis ability, so satisfying. It feels so good to just grab random shit and throw it. Like, it just feels so strong and tight and kinetic, and you can just really feel that mechanic and that the physics behind it and everything are just really fine-tuned to the point where like they knew this was going to be the most addictive mechanic of the game, and it absolutely is. And everything comes together so well, whether it's like the puzzle solving and the kind of platforming and the combat and the different weapons you can get. It's just everything about the game from a gameplay perspective is so fun. I still very much despise kind of the overworld, semi-open world-ish parts of the game where you're just kind of navigating, trying to figure out where to go. I still find that extremely irritating, and I was correct when I assumed that that was kind of intentional to an extent. When I listened to an interview with the game director, who kind of talked about that somewhat being an intentional idea, to the point where they almost didn't even include an overworld map, which would have driven me insane. But yeah, dude, Control, it's a game I've been looking forward to playing for a long time. I'm a little sad it took me this long to get to it, but I'm so glad I finally played it. I'm really excited for that DLC that's already out on the PS4, but will come to Xbox in June. Yeah, it's just Remedy is such a special developer. It really is kind of a shame that Microsoft, I don't know if they ever attempted to buy them, but it's kind of really that's kind of a one that got away story for Microsoft. Even though Control's, Remedy's games don't sell extraordinarily well, they're not massive millions and millions of copies sellers, but I think everything they put out is just fucking fantastic. I'll be super honest, and I'm really embarrassed to admit this, I still never played Alan Wake, which is just like blasphemous, I know, especially in the Xbox community. It's on Game Pass now, so I definitely plan on playing it very soon, but I've actually only ever played Max Payne 2, Quantum Break, and now Control, so definitely plan on going back and finally getting into Alan Wake. But I'm just really high on Remedy. I think they're such a fantastic developer. They're super underappreciated, underrated. Their games are always so thought-provoking and interesting, and just weird in the best ways. And they make great games, fun games, awesome games, and excited to see where they go from here, because like Respawn Entertainment, they haven't let us down yet. So that's, halfway into the episode. That's all that I've been playing this week. I also played a little bit of Golf with Your Friends, but that's a fun little mini golf game that's on Game Pass. You should definitely check out if you like arcadey, kind of couch co-op-y friend games. But yeah, let's finally get into this week's news without further ado. Sorry about the long intro, but hopefully if you've been listening to this show for a while now, you enjoy all that meandering bullshit up front. And look forward to it just as much as the news segment. If not, let me know, and maybe that's something we can address in the show. Probably actually won't listen to it, but because I enjoy all the meandering bullshit before we really get into things. But let's without further ado, the news. All right, so one story that was kind of going around this week that I don't really want to get too much into was the whole idea of the GTA 6 release window kind of being revealed, where they talked about 2K putting out, their marketing budget, and seeing that the marketing budget that they had planned for 2023 to 2024 was like that marketing budget spiked, and people were saying, oh, well, that's because they're going to be marketing GTA 6. That's likely the release time for GTA 6. Then 2K came out and said, no, that's actually not true, you idiots. The analyst is incorrect. We're taking all of our marketing in-house, so actually that budget doesn't reflect any of our games marketing or something like that. And basically just said, like, you're wrong, you're an idiot, shut up. But I still think there's some relevance to the story, just because 2024 is my kind of random hunch for when GTA 6 would be released anyway, so it makes enough sense to me to say that Red Dead Redemption 2 came out in 2018. You give them about 5-6 years, and that's 2024-ish. So that's about when I think GTA 6 is coming out anyway. So I don't think that rumor or that kind of train of thought is completely unsubstantiated. So there's some truth to that. Although 2K seemed to shoot it down rather quickly. Honestly, do you want another GTA right now when GTA 5 is still charting every fucking month for some reason, because people aren't satisfied with just 3 or 4 copies of the game apparently? But our first real story of the game of the week is that in a conversation with Business Insider, Xbox's Phil Spencer spoke on the possibility for future game delays due to COVID-19. He says, quote, "Through the summer or early fall, I feel pretty good about those games. Games that we are targeting for a year from now or beyond, there will be some impact, but they'll be able to react. mocap is just something that's basically stopped. We're not going into mocap studios. If you had all your animation captured and you're doing touch-up or individual art production in areas like textures and other things, you're in a better position. If you're waiting for things of either large audio work when it's with symphonies or other things or mocap, then you're held up right now and you're making the progress in areas that you are even though we're obviously not traveling to China, we feel good about our progress when it comes to hardware. I've got my take-home unit right now downstairs, and I'm playing on it most nights. I feel good about the software updates we're doing, end quote. So it's basically Phil Spencer saying, as far as like immediate future games come, like games come out in the next few months and such, and the Xbox Series X console itself, we're expecting that to be out pretty much, this fall, no problem. Everything will be fine. Maybe some slight delays, maybe a little rough waters for some developers kind of getting things together, but for the most part, everything should be fine. As for people who are making games that are coming out, in a year or two from now, games where, they're in the point of development where they're doing a lot of mocap and things like that, not so much. And so I don't know. I mean, I think this is a pretty obvious one that COVID had to affect, release dates for games to some extent. If anything, I'm actually kind of impressed in just how few games that are imminently releasing that aren't really getting delayed, or that he doesn't see getting delayed at least. Just for the simple fact that, I understand, if you're working on a game like Halo Infinite, you're probably, more than done with all the mocapping and the composing of music and all that shit at this point, but still, it's like having to tear down your studio and then build up at home and then figure out a way to communicate and work together remotely is extremely massive as an undertaking. And I can't imagine how these studios are just adapting overnight and being like, oh yeah, we can still make that deadline of November or October or whatever, because you got to keep in mind, when a developer sets a release date, it's usually not oh yeah, our game will be out in October, which means we have plenty of time to get the game done. It's okay, our game is out in October. Now that means that we got to get our heads down and get this shit done, because now that there's a due date on this project, we got to crack down on it. And if you're already in a situation where it's full steam ahead, all hands on deck, and that deadline is normally hard enough to reach as it is without this work from home kind of thing breaking up the flow of your work, of your development cycle, then now it's just been made even worse and even harder by having to be okay, how do we communicate, how do we work together, how do we share assets, how do we test and just do those things that are so natural in a work environment. I was actually, again, that interview with the game director of Control, he was talking about kind of the work from home nature right now in his studio, and he's been talking about something really interesting, which is just the way that people just kind of conduct themselves differently on Zoom calls and Microsoft Team calls and things like that, as they would if they were in person next to you, and just how it not only has the work culture changed, but just kind of the person to person, just the way we communicate has just changed so much, and how these things, it's you're kind of relearning people and relearning where you stand with people in terms of the work hierarchy, and just the way you address people and the way you just engage with people, and how all that stuff's new and unfamiliar territory. And I gotta think if that's something you're struggling with in your studio, if that's something that you're facing, a new challenge you're facing, that's something that's so minute but so essential to your day-to-day operation. I can't even imagine the kind of struggles you're facing when it comes to the actual, in the trenches development of your video game. So shout out to the studios that are somehow making this work, but it doesn't surprise me that games, or that Phil Spencer foresees things being, delayed next year. But the fact that, he doesn't foresee a lot of more imminent projects being delayed is what's more impressive to me. And we'll have to take that with a grain of salt, because I don't know. I still think that something big this fall is getting delayed. I don't know if it's Xbox Series X, PS4, Halo Infinite, some other game. I feel like something big is going to get pushed back to 2021. Although I feel pretty confident that the Series X itself is definitely on track. And then our next story here is it's a May month, so we haven't talked about this in a few weeks. Time to do our NPD numbers, our NPD, which tracks game sales on both digital and at retail, ranked the top 20 best-selling games for the month of April. And the games are as follows, starting from number 1 going down to 20. We've got Final Fantasy VII Remake at number 1. Number 2, we've got Call of Duty Modern Warfare. Warfare, the 2019 game, of course. Number 3, we got Animal Crossing New Horizons. Number 4 is NBA 2K20. Then GTA 5, of course. And then at 6, we got Resident Evil 3. At 7, we got Call of Duty Modern Warfare 2 Remastered, the campaign that came out. Number 8, we've got MLB The Show 20. 9 is Madden NFL 20. 10 is Red Dead Redemption 2. 11 is Just Dance 2020. 12 is FIFA 20. 13 is Mortal Kombat 11. 14 is Borderlands 3. 15 is Predator Hunting Grounds. 16 is Mario Kart 8 Deluxe. 17 Star Wars Jedi Fallen Order. 18 Persona 5 Royal. 19 Need for Speed Heat. And 20 Dragon Ball Z Kakarot. So in addition to all that, Nintendo Switch remained the best-selling hardware for the month of April. In dollar sales of PlayStation 4, Xbox One, and Switch increased more than 160% when compared to April 2019. So that's fucking massive. That's just a massive jump in revenue. People are stuck at home. People are using them stimulus checks to kind of get back into gaming or really jump into this hobby, something to kind of keep them busy. And that's an awesome sign for Microsoft and Sony and Nintendo right now, because they are really making some buku bucks off of really not doing anything, just having their shit out there in the world. But, you know, that more so than that, looking at the games of the month, Final Fantasy VII Remake, remember, that's a game that's on a single piece of hardware. That's just PlayStation 4 sales. So that's an impressive number right there. Call of Duty Modern Warfare, not impressive. Animal Crossing New Horizons, I'm kind of surprised to see it slip to number 3. I would have expected it to be at number 2 still. Or, I mean, to be at number 2, only to be bested by Final Fantasy. So that's a little surprising, just because, you know, that game's been such a massive, annoying success. It's literally all anyone talks about on the internet. I can't fucking, look up today's weather without someone trying to make a funny meme or something about Animal Crossing. But, I mean, you gotta keep in account, Modern Warfare is, you know, massive, and it's on way more hardware than Animal Crossing, so it makes sense. But, you know, that's not to say that Animal Crossing being at number 3 is, you know, a letdown. That's still very impressive sales numbers, and that's month number 2, so the game sold like crack in its first month, and it's still selling incredibly strong. Grand Theft Auto 5 at number 5. What do you want me to say at this point? That thing's just stuck on here forever. Pretty notable, Minecraft is not on here. Usually Minecraft is on here somewhere with GTA, so that's definitely something worth pointing out. Let's see what else we got. Mario Kart 8 Deluxe, which is a port of a Wii U game that sold a shit ton of copies for a Wii U game, and now is selling incredibly well as a Switch game. It kind of blows my fucking mind that Mario Kart 8 is a game that came out on the Nintendo Wii U, a console that no one owned, in 2014, and still sold like crack on the Wii U, and then was just re-released on the Switch in 2017, and is still charting on NPD to this month, keeping in mind that during this time, it's only been available on one console at a time. You know, Mario Kart 8 Deluxe is only accounting for Switch sales, because it's not Mario Kart 8. This is Mario Kart 8 Deluxe, the Switch version. So somehow, this game has just been charting. It's been available in some capacity for 6 years now, and it's still charting on NPD. And unlike Grand Theft Auto, and unlike Minecraft, it's only available on one piece of hardware. So that's just like fucking amazing. This is the power of Nintendo. The fact that they can be like, hey, remember Mario Kart? We're going to give you more Mario Kart. It's the same fucking game as every Mario Kart, but guess what? You're still going to buy it by the millions because it's Mario Kart. And I'm not trying to shit on Nintendo here. I love Mario Kart. I play every Mario Kart. I get it. But fuck, man. Like, 6 years later, people are still just like, oh man, what am I going to, I guess I'm going to go buy Mario Kart. I finally got $60 saved up after, I've been saving, you know, $2.12 every month for the past 6 years, and now I'm going to go buy, I finally saved up enough to go buy Mario Kart 8 Deluxe plus tax. Like, is that what's happening here? Like, what the actual fuck? But, I mean, cool. Do you understand what this means? Like, 6-year-olds play Mario Kart. So, think about it like this. In 2014, some little fucker was born, and he was a newborn, around the time Mario Kart 8 came to Wii U. And now it's 2020. That little fuckboy is celebrating its 6th birthday, and they just got Mario Kart 8 Deluxe on their Nintendo Switch for their birthday, for their 6th birthday. And that little kid, in its entire life, that kid has been living alongside Mario Kart 8, charting on NPD every month. It's just fucking it's impressive. It's a little obnoxious, but it's mostly impressive. Star Wars Jedi Fallen Order, cool to see that still on there. Dragon Ball Z Kakarot, those Weeby games, just they keep on keeping on. Persona 5 too, also just really killing it. But that's our NPDs for this week. You will notice here that, of course, there is nothing Microsoft exclusive related here, and we will continue to see less and less of that, not only because Microsoft has fewer big Animal Crossing, God of War type games coming out, but because the simple fact that Game Pass is going to cannibalize Microsoft's opportunity to ever really get on NPD numbers, which I don't think is something Microsoft really cares about, but just remember, it's always going to be it's always going to be skewed a little bit now, because Microsoft games are predominantly, or not predominantly, but Microsoft games are going to get a heavy percentage of their player base from Game Pass instead of physical or digital retail sales. Our next story here, this is one that's a little hard for me to chew just because I wasn't too familiar on what this website was, but I'll try to do my best here. So from IGN, G2A has admitted that it has sold stolen games on its marketplace. In a blog post, the company says that they've admitted to selling 198 illegally obtained copies of Factorio, a management sim created by Woobi Software. As compensation, G2A has agreed to pay Woobi Software 10 times the value of any bank-initiated refund costs that Factorio paid in relation to each of the 198 illegitimate keys sold via the marketplace. So I won't get into all of this. Basically, it's a long story here, but there's a quote here that they released. It says, "To assure honesty and transparency, we will ask a reputable and independent auditing company to make an unbiased examination of both sides, the developer's store and G2A marketplace." The blog post reads, "The cost of the first 3 audits is on us. Every next one will be split 50-50. Woobi Software took G2A up on this offer, saying that after assessing the number of independent audited companies and finding none that would meet our agreed requirements, Woobi and G2A decided that G2A should proceed with any internal investigations." The latest blog post update reads. And so basically the story goes on saying that, G2A is being pretty transparent about the fact that this did happen, and that they are sorry, and that they're looking into figuring out a way to make sure it doesn't happen again, and to properly repay for the issue at hand here. But just to be so, for those who don't know, because I didn't really know until the story came out, G2A is this website basically where people can go and sell keys to digital copies of games they have to other users and stuff. So you can set up your own marketplace, so to speak, kind of like an eBay store or something like that, and you can sell games that you have keys to. I'm not exactly sure how people obtain these keys and how the whole system works, but it's a legitimate thing. You can buy keys for Xbox Live games, Steam games, PSN games, etc., and there's been this huge push from G2A over the years to really beef up their security. They partnered with Microsoft actually a few years ago to implement some Azure security features as well. They've done partnerships with some other security companies to try and really make sure their system is cloud tight and that everything is secure and safe and people can sell games, basically trying to protect developers and publishers from having illegal copies and codes and keys of their games sold on this website, to prevent fraud, basically. But obviously this has been a big concern for many over the years, and this is just a big example of why people have been afraid, a big kind of realization of what this fear has always been about. And basically this isn't the first time anything like this has ever happened, because in 2017, basically G2A accused Gearbox of defamatory statements because Gearbox claimed that they had had similar experience. So this isn't the first time this company's come up regarding this kind of story. My 2 cents is basically, and from my limited understanding, trying to figure out exactly how this works, it looks like in some cases publishers and developers do get credit in compensation for these sold digital games on this website, but it depends on the situation. But I mean, this is just another one of those deep nerdy PC gamer things where it's guys, stay off these weird corners of the internet. Just be a blind consumer. Go spend big sums of money the irresponsible way. Go to your online marketplace. Go to your Walmarts and your Best Buys and go buy the full $60 game. Listen, money kind of inadvertently grows on trees. So treat it as such is all I'm trying to say. I don't really have too much I can get in on this story with. This is more just like a thing to kind of put this out there. Clearly, this is a big concern. I don't really even know how you get illegal keys onto this marketplace if they are doing such a good job of, checking and making sure everything is secure, and that it's really, really hard to even get illegal or illegitimate copies of a game up on the website to begin with. But clearly, if I were a publisher, this is something where I'd be like, hey, the potential earnings are not worth the risk. I'm not going to allow my games to be sold on this website because I just don't even 198 copies of the game, and that's a smaller game where that happens. So I know it doesn't sound like too many games in the large scheme of things, in the grand scheme of things, but you never know if this is just like the first time this has been caught, and this kind of thing has been happening, on and off for years and years. So this is going to make it an uphill battle for this company to kind of convince publishers in particular that their marketplace is safe and secure and trustworthy. But yeah, I'm sorry, I'm at kind of a loss on this one just because I tried to understand a little more about what this website was and what this whole story was about, but it teeters a bit too much on the side of computer gamers looking to get a good deal. And you know me, this podcast isn't about you PC nerds out there. It's about you Xbots. So I'm only looking out for you guys. And then our next story here is We'll try to kick it back into high gear. We got Ubisoft potentially reviving a delisted game. So back in 2012, Ubisoft Montreal released a really well-received Scott Pilgrim game on the Xbox Live Arcade and PlayStation Network based on the movie of the same name, based on the manga series of the same name. The game was unfortunately delisted at the end of 2014, presumably due to licensing issues. Well, it appears that perhaps the game will be coming back to online marketplaces as early as this week. Scott Pilgrim creator Brian Lee O'Malley tweeted, "Bring back Scott Pilgrim the game," to which the official Ubisoft account replied with the considering emoji, the little emoji with the fingers on his chin, like, oh, thinking about it. So yeah, I can't imagine why an emoji reply on Twitter constitutes as news, but hey, here we are, we're talking about it, and it's a slow news week, so yeah, you got that. Plus, the real reason why people want the Scott Pilgrim game to make a comeback is because the game's music was composed by Anna Monoguchi, who are possibly the greatest electronic chiptune artists around. Seriously, this entire news story for me is pretty much just about elaborating on my love for this band. You should go check out their 2013 album record Endless Fantasy, which is quite literally an amazing record. I highly, highly, highly recommend Anna Monoguchi. They're just phenomenal. But yeah, so I know this is a game people often lament. I never actually played it. I think I downloaded the demo for it, and I don't remember anything about it, but I have listened to the soundtrack quite a bit. I do know that this is a game that, one of those games that got delisted that kind of gets a lot of attention. When the conversation of digital games being delisted comes up, this is usually like the one that's at the forefront of the conversation, because I remember this game coming out and kind of taking the world by surprise. People were like, why the hell is this little like movie tie-in game so fun? And people, I believe it's like a brawler game, if I'm not correct. And if I'm correct, it's like a retro brawler kind of game, and people really, really enjoyed the hell out of it. So hopefully this will be making a comeback. Ubisoft replying with the considering emojis kind of not for the reason that they did it, but for the reason that news sites actually started picking up the story over the response of an emoji. But I understand the implication is that they're thinking about it, maybe. But this is one of those things where it's like, Ubisoft, you have the money. I'm sure, in talks with the right people, it wouldn't be too hard to get this game back up. That would be one of those like good faith moves, especially, in a time like now where Ubisoft has had all of their games kind of delayed to a later quarter. So it's like, if you want just a little something out there, just generate a tad bit of income in a time where everyone's stuck at home anyway, you might as well just work this out and get this game back on the store and get that little burst of revenue, if you will. So big possibility. I think now would be kind of the perfect time for a thing like that. It would just be like one of those feel-good stories where it's like, hey, the Scott Pilgrim game is back, and everyone's stuck at home with a stimulus check. I guess you got to go play this game, and then everyone plays it and remembers how nostalgic they were for the 80s when they played this game. in the 2010s. So yeah, hopefully that will be coming back to Xbox Live in the near future. But for now, we can only consider this story with a considering emoji. Our next article here is that, or if I may, class, if you will, listen to me. Please raise your hands and share with me if there have been any video game related conventions for 2020 that have forgotten to cancel their events in favor for a digital event sometime this year over COVID-19. Oh yes, what was that, you greasy pervy Overwatch kid in the oversized purple Twitch hoodie? Oh yes. Oh, that's right, BlizzCon. So now BlizzCon has been canceled due to the Crohn's disease, and you can all look forward to all your Blizzard announcements sometime in early 2021 when the online replacement event will take place. Now, Blizzard announces like some logistical issues and reasoning for why they have to delay the event to 2021 instead of just later this year, which I find really weird. If I'm not mistaken, BlizzCon's not one obviously that I follow too closely, but if I'm not mistaken, BlizzCon generally happens in like August, September. I think September, right? It's like an early fall event, so I don't really understand why this can't just happen in like October, November as a digital event. But they say they just vaguely said for like logistical reasons, it would have to take place in early 2021. I almost wonder if that's their way of saying, hey, listen, people are going to be so fucking tired of all these digital event replacements for all these game shows and things like that, that if we just space our thing out enough, because frankly, we don't have anything to show that's coming out imminently, then it will just garner more attention. But also, I don't feel like Blizzard's a company that needs to do that, because Blizzard's one of those companies. They're like Rockstar. If they say Overwatch, everyone's gonna just like snort and turn their head and be like, oh, just be entranced by this, enchanted by this news of a weeby little shooter game that they love. So I don't feel like Blizzard's the company that really needs to kind of get their own space to do their own announcement. But nonetheless, it's possible that's what's happening here. But if you were looking forward to BlizzCon 2020, just know that it has been delayed, and it will be in the form of a digital-only event. And likely, in my 2 cents is that they don't really have anything to show anyway that's like so imminent, and this just buys them time to be like, oh, well, now when we do hold the event, it will be closer to the release of insert name of video game here, and then we'll be able to kind of capitalize on that hype a little more. Reminder that there's that Diablo mobile game that's supposed to be coming out soon. That could be something that's imminent. There's that Overwatch 2. There's Diablo 4, which we know is in the works. So any one of these games that we're waiting to hear more about could be 2021 titles. You never know. I believe Overwatch 2 is a 2021 game. Hasn't that been confirmed already? I'm not sure. But our next one here is that Grounded, the new game from Outer Worlds developer Obsidian Entertainment, comes to Xbox One and PC on July 28th. But Microsoft has teased a brief demo that will be exclusive at some point in June, giving eager players an early peek at the studio's first exclusive game as an Xbox Game Studios team. So from Windows Central, the Grounded demo runs from June 9th to the 14th, set to provide a 1 day in the life of Grounded's single-player campaign. That excludes multiplayer and long-term progression, 2 crucial aspects planned in the experience, but also serves as a tease for the forthcoming public debut. Microsoft states that a limited number of slots will be available for the demo and available on a first-come, first-served basis. The Xbox One test will be available exclusively through Xbox Inside Program, Microsoft's opt-in initiative for trialing upcoming Xbox One system updates and select games, while also available via the Xbox Insider Hub for PC on Windows 10. The demo also branches to Steam through the Steam Game Festival, which you're not supposed to play there because it's not where we play Xbox games, you nerd. And then Grounded's early demo hits, just a reminder, hits on June 9th, and early access for the game debuts on July 28th, and then the formal, official launch for the game will be sometime in 2021, so stay tuned for those dates. Pretty soon you'll be able to play Grounded if you want to partake in this demo. I'll probably just wait for July 28th and play the whole early access thing, but nonetheless, I know there are some people out there who listen to this show who are excited for this game, so this is good news. Even more Xbox first-party studio shit that's coming imminently that we can play, because this is actually a pretty good year for Xbox games. We still got Wasteland 3 and Grounded and Halo Infinite, so tons and tons of new games here. Probably a Forza game at the end of the year. And our final wrap-up story for the week is that 343 Industries have announced Halo 3 is set to begin its test flight for PC in June. Of course, this test flight will be available to those part of the Halo Insider program, and which marks a rather quick turnaround for Halo 3, considering that Halo 2 Anniversary just made its way to the Master Chief Collection on PC on May 12th. With just a month between releases, it seems that 343 might be able to get their entire Master Chief Collection on PC before the launch of Halo Infinite this holiday season, giving PC players access to every Halo game that's not called Halo 5 Guardians. So this is a rather impressive turnaround, especially considering the fact that there are actually a fair amount of people I've seen online bitching about how Halo 2 Anniversary has some performance issues and bugs on PC. So it surprises me that they're just going to jump straight into Halo 3 when this is apparently a glaring problem. I don't know if they've already addressed these issues or what, but it seems like they're kind of eager to get these Halo games out on the PC, which is surprising. Which means, in June, Halo 3 will be out, and then after that, they'll only have ODST and 4, and then they'll have everything. Everything from the Master Chief Collection, at least on PC, because they already have Reach 1 and 2, and now we're getting 3. So this has been an impressive turnaround. At first, I was like, oh, kind of going slow with Halo Reach and Halo 1, but now they're ramping up, which is exciting. I think I stand by my point that they're trying to get all of this shit on PC to kind of serve as like a little warm up, a little teaser build up for Halo Infinite. I mean, that's obviously what they're doing. They still haven't showed Infinite, but this is their kind of way, just saying, hey, keep Halo on the mind. Keep Halo on the mind. Here we go. Here's another one and another one. And they're just telling PC gamers, hey, Halo's coming. It's just a little way at saying, like, what do we have that we can use to kind of dole out over the months to get people hyped for Halo? Certainly not teasers and more information about Halo Infinite. We'll just give them ports, No, of course. I mean, this is actually a big deal, bringing Halo to PC. And I'm very excited for people who've been wanting this for a long time, that they'll be able to play these fantastic games on PC, finally, once and for all. But yeah, here we are, Halo 3, the best Halo, coming to PC next month. Be excited for that. So that's it for all of our main stories of the week. Of course, there are those important enough news stories important enough to make the podcast, but not important enough to warrant their own discussions, of which we have a handful. The first one here is that in celebration of Pac-Man's 40th anniversary, Minecraft has added some new DLC that unlocks new power-ups and stages themed to the classic arcade game. After completing all 10 mazes, players can even create their own. The Pac-Man DLC can be found in the marketplace today. No Man's Sky is headed to Xbox Game Pass and will be available to subscribers sometime in June. Square Enix and Crystal Dynamics have announced that Marvel's Avengers will be getting its first War Table stream on June 24th that will showcase brand new gameplay and co-op footage. Basically, this is like a little Nintendo Direct for Marvel's Avengers, hosted by Square Enix and Crystal Dynamics, of course. Next up, we got Fast and Furious Crossroads, a game that absolutely no one asked for and only I want to play, has been delayed and is now headed for an August 7th, 2020 release date. So I will look forward to that while everyone else continues to forget about its existence. And then finally, according to a few entertainment industry journalist postings on Twitter, a TV show adaptation of Square Enix's video game series Kingdom Hearts is in production. The TV adaptation would be coming to Disney Plus, and we can only hope that the atomic bomb drops and spares us all before this nightmare can become fully realized. So that is going to do it for all of our news stories of this week. Now we will wrap up with the new game releases of the week, as well as our games with gold, and we now have June's games with gold, so we'll go over that as well. But first, our games this week, we've got 15 new games coming, according to Xbox Wire, that you can dig into, that you can look forward to, you little Xbox nerds. Our first one here, you ready for it? Minecraft Dungeons. So this is a game where basically a bunch of kids find themselves, crafting and crafting all the time, and they build and they create and they share it and they put it on TikTok and they put it on YouTube and they use their iPads and they play it to their heart's content. But then one day they Minecraft a little too deep and they find themselves deep in the dungeons of hell. So I don't know. I'm a little conflicted about the kind of morality of this game, because as the image shows here, there are 4 Minecraft-looking friends exploring a lava-y, fiery dungeon. And I think it's really a little fucked up because obviously, Minecraft is very big with the young audience. And this is kind of an analogy for how life can be all about fun and creation and being on the upside of things, being on the surface, playing in the grass, building in the sun, as you do in regular Minecraft. But Minecraft Dungeons is about kind of the seedy underbelly of a child's life, where an uncle takes them down deep into the dungeon, into the fiery lava pits of hell, and says, this is when you have to fight your way back to safety. And it's kind of Microsoft's way of embodying that in a game. And while I applaud them for having the courage to tackle such a sensitive topic, I also find it a little controversial that they'd even make a kids game about such a thing, about those moments where an uncle, a trustworthy adult figure, takes you somewhere dark below, takes you into the dungeons, into the fiery depths of hell, and frankly has their way with your innocence. And that's what this game's about. And if you think you can stomach those mature themes, I think this is a game you're really going to enjoy. It is included on Game Pass, and it is Xbox One X enhanced, although I don't know that those visual enhancements are really going to do much to help you appreciate the horrors you'll be subjected to in this game. Our next game here is called, hopefully a little more positive, we got Age of Wonders Planetfall Invasions DLC. And that's a really stupid name for a game, but don't let that make you think the game is stupid, because the game is not stupid. I can assure you it is very cool that you play as like a king lion that stands on its hind legs and has swords and guns and is in a very Gundam's Japanese universe. So I mean, how can a game like that not be cool? And if you don't believe me, try it for yourself. It's included on Game Pass. It's Xbox One X enhanced, so you'll be able to see all that fur detail and great 4K resolution. Our next game here, speaking of furries, we got Mortal Kombat 11 Aftermath, which features everyone's favorite 80s furry, RoboCop. You'll be able to RoboCop block everyone in Mortal Kombat 11 with your RoboCop shield, with your RoboCop helmet for when you ride a motorcycle to keep your head safe. But what I don't understand is why RoboCop, a man of such 21st century aesthetics and sensibilities, is here fighting a creature with devil eyes and 4 arms. I think it's kind of silly to waste your time with that. You are a robot. You have VR technology. You have probably a chip implanted in your brain that helps you read augmented information, and you're wasting your time with this stupid demon. And which led me to think, okay, well, Jesse, maybe you're being a little bit unfair to the situation. Maybe what's happening here is the reason why RoboCop has his sword shield out and is blocking the attacks of this four-armed devil creature, who's obviously female, is the fact that maybe this is a love interest trying to break down those metaphorical walls and say, RoboCop, I know I'm a bad guy and you're a cop, but I don't think we should let our day jobs get in the way of our romance. And I think that's kind of really beautiful that Mortal Kombat is kind of getting away from the fatalities and the gruesome deaths and kind of exploring the romance between two very unlike forms of sentient life. And that's a really cool game. It's an Xbox One X enhanced, so you can definitely see that love unfold in true 4K. So that's a really cool feature. Our next game here is called Many Faces Console Edition. This is it looks like Bubble Bobble, but it's not Bubble Bobble. So my recommendation this week is that you go ahead on your NES. It's on the NES Classic if you got that, and you play Bubble Bobble, a very great classic NES game. Our next game here is called Castle Pals. This is a game I take umbrage with because, yes, there's a female character in this Mario-looking lava dungeon, and she seems to be abusing her friend by standing on him to get across the lava. It's one thing when Mario does it, he sees a floating turtle and he jumps on it to kind of use as a stopgap to get from one platform to the next over the lava. That's okay. Turtles' lives don't really matter all that much. They're, as far as I'm concerned, once they hit that lava, they're turtle soup. But I do take umbrage with the fact that this girl would be willing to just throw her friend in the fire for a chance to get over that lava pit. So maybe it's kind of a commentary on the decisions of our red-hatted plumber. But I don't think that, in an effort to make that kind of commentary and bring that awareness, to the public, I don't think that the lives of these 8-bit characters should be lost. So that's a little fucked up, but Good game nonetheless. I hear the graphics are great. Genetic Disaster is a game that's 4 players, and so we won't really get into that because I don't even know 4 people. I don't even know 3 people I could play with to make it 4 players. But our next game after that is called Those Who Remain, which is a game with very many arms reaching out. So it is like a dark corridor. Dark Corridor. It looks very horror-esque. It is Xbox One X enhanced, so it's very scary. But there are just dozens, I would guess 30 plus hands reaching out from both sides of the walls in this image. And I don't know, like, I think that's kind of a cool thing from an aesthetic perspective. You know, it's like, oh, how cool would that be? I actually think that'd be a really cool concept for a haunted house if you had like a tight corridor or or like hallway where you had to like maneuver, and then you just had all these hands reaching out, kind of grabbing at you. Of course, you'd have to use like fake hands because you can't have real hands touching what all with social distancing. But I really think that's a cool aesthetic for a horror game. Like, do not get me wrong. What I don't find what I don't find particularly appealing about this is that horror is all about, you know, scaring people. And when I see a bunch of hands reaching out while I'm walking down a hallway, I don't feel scared. You know, I don't care that I don't know whose bodies these arms belong to. I don't care, you know, that these hands are reaching out to touch me, because when I see 30 plus hands reaching out towards my body, I see 30 people trying to lend a hand and help and support. And I think that's actually kind of touching that, you know, I'm sure the developers behind Those Who Remain thought they were making a really scary game, but what they actually ended up doing was making a really emotionally supportive game, because this is a great game where people who feel isolated and alone and scared, which is a normal setting for a horror game, can actually go and feel cared for and supported, and like there's someone out there to quite literally lend a hand when needed. And that's actually just something I think we really need, especially in today's kind of climate, where social climate, where people are just always looking to, you know, boot on the neck kind of thing. This is just a touching thing. Our next game here is called Shantae and the Seven Sirens. I thought Shantae was a girl, like a genie girl with purple hair, but in this game, I'm seeing a muscular Dwayne Johnson looking fish head guy. So I don't know what happened to Shantae here, but she absolutely should not have gotten that haircut, because she literally looks like a fish monster, and I don't really care how offensive that sounds, to be honest. And then we got Atomic Crops, our next game. This is a farming simulator with evil monsters. So you can play that if you enjoy a nice twist on a classic genre. We've got Indie Calypsy as our next game. This is a fighting game. I don't really enjoy fighting games. I think it's about time someone finally makes a fighting game where it's about non-violence. I think that would be much more interesting, but I digress. We got Ultimate Fishing Simulator, which is a fantastic game. Highly recommend. You thought fishing in Animal Crossing was good. Wait till you see this Bass Pro Shop simulator. And then we've got Geo Rifters, which is a very fun game where this old man with a clock on his chest and a fire hydrant for a head can shoot sludge out of the left side of his brain at enemies. I'm very off-put by this, but it's Xbox One X enhanced, so clearly Microsoft saw a good reason to update the visuals on this game, because that's how Xbox One X enhanced games work. Our next game here is called Bug Fables: The Everlasting Sapling, which I'm just going to move past because I'm really tired of making up things. And then the next game is called Little Misfortune, which is about a girl and a fox in the woods. So I assume this is a spiritual... Without reading any further, I assume that's a spiritual successor to Dora the Explorer. Dora, by the way, really digging that French look you're doing now. It's pretty cool. It's very mysterious. It's very Sherlock Holmes looking of you. And then we've got The Last Escape, which is a hot air balloon in the sky. I don't understand why they thought it was a good idea to put the camera perspective so very far away. It will be very hard to control that hot air balloon knowing that it's like off in the distance. But if you like games with awful camera controls, it sounds like that's a good game for you. And I know I do, so I'm going to go play that. But that's it for all of our new games. Thank you for bearing with us. As a reminder, last few days of May, you've got, for Games with Gold, V-Rally 4. Download that before the month's over. You got Warhammer 40k Inquisitor Martyr, which is available until June 15th, so you still got some time on that. On the Xbox 360 backwards compatibility side, we got Sensible World of Soccer, which you missed out on, so fuck you. And then Overlord 2, which is available until the very end of the month. So go ahead and download that as well. But wait, there's more because June's games of gold have already been announced. So we've got our 4 games. We got Shantae, which is available. I'm sorry, I can't see which one it is. I need to zoom in this and I didn't. But we got one of the Shantae games, which is available for the whole month of June. We got Coffee Talk from June 16th to July 15th, which I'm actually really interested in playing. I played the demo of this on Switch and I actually really enjoyed it. It's kind of a guilty pleasure game for me, so I'm actually really excited to play that fully now that it's on Xbox. It is a it's like you like work as a barista in this little cafe, and you just talk to like these little anime little freaks who just like sit down and you just have kind of conversations with people at the coffee shop, and it's just kind of a fun, mellow, chill game with a lo-fi background. Speaking of lo-fi, we're one this podcast is second. And our other 2 games are an Xbox original. We got Destroy All Humans, which is available for the first half of June. And then Sign Mora, which is available. It's like a shoot 'em up ship combat game for the second half of June, which is a 360 game, all backwards compatible, of course. And that's going to do it for this week's episode of Xbox On. As always, guys, I really appreciate the support. I'm not going to lie, I feel like this episode was a little weak due to a bad news week or something. I don't know, but I really appreciate, all the new subscribers, all the longtime subscribers. It really does mean a lot to me that anyone listens to this show. And I'll be honest, I feel pretty undeserving of any support or of this show at all. I'm not just trying to seek pity or some fish for compliments or anything like that. I genuinely appreciate the support. It truly means a lot to me. It makes doing this show a lot more fun, knowing that there are people on the other side who of the audio. There are other people listening to this show who are somehow enjoying it, and I don't know. It's fun to do. Let me know if you ever have any suggestions, things you do or don't like about the show. I want to hear them, even if I don't listen to them. If you want to send me nice reviews, iTunes, 5 stars, hit that shit. It's great. I don't actually check my iTunes reviews, so I have no idea if you guys have been doing that or not. So I guess I'm just as responsible for this issue. But yeah, I really, truly appreciate everyone who's ever listened to this show and who, whether you've been here since episode 1 or you just started now, I greatly, greatly appreciate your support. And look forward to hearing all from you throughout this week about this episode. And hopefully next week we'll have a more news-filled episode. Remember, we're getting close into June territory. So next week will be June. The show will go live on June 4th. And I'm assuming that pretty much any day from there, either that week or the next week, we'll get our next Inside Xbox. I assume it's the next week, but this will be a big one. This will be, I'm expecting Xbox Series X, details, pricing, release dates, things like that. So this is a massive one. So we're pretty much 1 or 2 weeks away from some serious Xbox Series X news, and I'm super looking forward to that, and I hope you are as well. But until then, thank you for listening to the podcast. Eric, if you will do us the favor of, if you will do me the honor of playing us out with one of your few songs I have downloaded on my computer because you simply refuse to send me those new tracks you've been working on. Thank you so much.